A little hot take. Dr. Lavelle just walked in and brought up a very sensitive topic to two trainers.
Can we just start right here?
That's like Lindsay. I mean, people look at Lindsay and think you're going to do CrossFit and look like Lindsay.
That's right.
You're not.
Yeah,
and the deal is like, I would say I know very few ladies that can genetically like look like Lindsay looks, but that's also, Lindsay did not look like that 12 years ago.
Now, the thing about that is, too, though, you can put them on the exact same training program that Lindsay does, which there are other people that do it, and they're not going to look like Lindsay.
Exactly.
There's a genetic component,
and that you can.
There's their caloric consumption, and she actually does pay attention to what she eats. So Lindsay actually likes to hear that
she
she's
looks
muscular.
big.
Oh,
it's a goal for her.
That's
She
right.
didn't do it on accident.
We talked about it yesterday.
That person that you think is too muscular, that didn't happen by accident.
That's right. Listen,
There was a plan.
You need to tell
There was a very specific.
I know you didn't
I have
wanna.
said it with her, but I'm just like,
I know.
for the love of God, how many times do I have to have this conversation?
I know.
we're done.
Sorry.
That was it. That was the whole
You want to
podcast.
get some like spicy, no topic today. Dr. Lavelle just walked in and brought up a very sensitive topic to two trainers.
We've been dealing with this
We
for 25
literally
years,
work our asses off to create programs to get people to look certain ways, and it didn't happen by accident.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at that. Actually, I like that.
If it did, we wouldn't be doing this podcast.
That's a good way.
So
to
you're
look at
telling me if you're a female scared of getting too big and muscular, that's not going to just happen by
accident,
by randomly training, doing some weight training here and there.
That's not going to happen with regular weight training unless all things point to that. You have to put in concerted effort to actually make that happen. So
Not just in the gym, but also with nutrition.
That's what I'm saying. Everywhere, everything has to align for somebody who's even genetically predisposed. There still has to be the raw material to make it work. So if the calories aren't there and you're still genetically capable, you can't build something from nothing. Now,
so you're saying you need to be in a calorie surplus.
Correct. Yeah. So if you're actually going to put true size on, there has to be a caloric surplus. But then,
and I would say, just to interrupt you real quick, to get in a calorie surplus, that's something that you have to be very intentional with.
Yeah, so we hear this all the time, a hard gainer that's wanting to put muscle on.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, I can't put muscle on. Then you have them show their diet and it's, I ate 1,500 calories, 1,500 calories. Here's my 2,500 calorie day. And you're like, 25 is probably the maintenance.
Yeah.
You're already in a weekly deficit of 2K. Like, you don't understand what it's like, first and foremost, to be in a true caloric surplus. But here's the other thing. You apparently don't understand what consistency is. Because we're talking, you do that today, and then talk to me a year from now, and then we might see that you added a pound of muscle. Now, sure, you're a genetic freak. Great, you do that for 6 months, and maybe you get 10 pounds of muscle your first year of training. And then
exactly.
What happens after that?
Yeah.
It's like
it's going to slow down.
And then if you're a female, what have we seen for 25 years? That's even that much more challenging to put on a pound of muscle, let alone whatever the misconception is. Yeah, I'm going to be gigantic if I work out a year. That would be great.
It would be. And there would be a lot of gigantic people walking around,
awesome.
and they're not.
It would be awesome. Yes, that's exactly right.
When you're saying a calorie surplus, what does that look like if you break it down to macros?
So I would say that you always start a caloric surplus at 500 calories plus a day of what your basal metabolic rate is. So if I was 2,000 calories walking around, you need to be at 2,500 every single solitary day for months to be able to see some.
But that's not just
increase.
ice cream in the night, right? Is there a certain amount? Is there a certain type of calorie?
This could be a little interesting because you could truly be a hard gainer where you may need what you would consider, some people call it like a dirty calorie. Okay, so maybe you need that because you can't eat. So maybe you need the ice cream. And you see guys talk about this all the time. These are typically your true hard gainers that need something else to kick in there. But other than that, a carbohydrate, which is going to provoke a little bit of anabolism, is probably going to be best, assuming the correct amount of protein is there already. So all of the conversation should have the assumption that you're getting the right amount of protein, which in my opinion is 1 gram per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
If you're getting 1 gram per pound of body weight, again, studies will show a little less, but I feel like if you weigh 150 pounds, man, it's easy to shoot for 150, and if you're 5 short, you're fine. But if you're trying to do the 0.8 kilograms per pound, already people click off because of math. Yeah. So just eat that.
Keeps it simple.
Well, and here's the thing about that is you have to be very intentional.
Every
if you're
day,
eating 150, especially as a female,
100%.
130, 150 grams of protein. That's like us dudes eating 200, 220 grams of protein.
So I was just telling this the other day.
Consistently.
For 25
Not
years.
once.
That's right. For 25 years, I've had at least 200, if not to 250 grams of protein each and every day. And it's always a challenge to discuss nutrition in that aspect, because for me, it's like, that's the gift. Like the being able to actually eat something, like I'm super stoked about that.
Yeah.
Because most of the time what you're trying to do, and especially in my case, I've gained weight really easy. I'm the other way. So I always keep protein up and then have to be in a caloric deficit everywhere else.
And you've
that's
been
the
doing
fun.
that how long?
25 years, 18, and I've been logging my calories. And I have the books since I was 18, every single solitary day. Now,
And you pretty much eat the same thing.
every single solitary day. So, but I'm not saying that.
But that's how intentional that you
but then you
are about it.
Would I say that is a have to for everyone? No. Now, here's the interesting thing, though, and I was just having this conversation today. I would say it is for everyone who says they're not where they want to be. So if you come to me, and you're like, man, I just can't nail it right. Well, show me what you eat. And you're like, well, I don't know. Cool, man.
It's all over the place.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, if you're where you want to be, maybe you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, as long I've known you for 10 years now, and I've always seen you look fit, look good, and stuff like that. So great. Maybe you are the guy that doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Or if you're not where you want to be and you haven't tried that yet, it makes no sense not to try that.
Yeah.
You just walked away from doing A. We can't get to B. I mean, it's really simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, super simple.
That's cool. What about the opposite? There's a whole trend now, fad, fasting. So how do you fit that in to this conversation where we want to gain muscle? You got to be consistent with what you're eating. Do you see that fasting obviously makes that harder because you have a smaller window to eat? But if they have to train in the morning and so they're skipping breakfast because they're doing that, 16-8, where they're fasting for 16 hours.
Yes, time restricted. So I'll say that in two different ways, and I don't want to just take up all the time, but when I'm thinking of that, I think that men do a lot better fasting, women don't. I feel like a lot of the females that I train do. Now, I think they feel good when they start. What I see is they feel good when they start it. Like it's a new thing, and you automatically have that little burst of energy in the morning when you don't eat. And what I always see is that guys kind of maintain that with a little bit more metabolic flexibility. We seem to be okay with that. At the end of the day, if you need 3,000 calories to gain, however you had to get there will probably work out, assuming your stomach can handle it. So if you want to be the guy who eats one meal of 3,000 calories, if you're the guy that can do it, it's still going to work relatively the same way. Yeah. Now, but what I don't see, I see guys do well with that, 2 meals, 3 meals, calorie restricted. I don't see females do as well. What I normally would do is immediately some sort of 15 to 30 grams of protein right out of the gate. Now, doesn't mean that it has to be carrying carbohydrates with it, but there is some sort of protein right out of the gate. Now, after that, you still hit whatever the caloric goal is, if it's a deficit or if it's a surplus. What do you see with that?
The same thing.
Yeah.
I definitely think it works better for
100%.
males than females.
Yeah, I see. And then usually you hear that almost like 3 or 4 months in. After a female has been doing it, they're like, I feel great. And then something happens where it's like the training goes down. And they may not even notice it, but I think we see it. Yeah. And you're like, what are you doing? And as soon as you get that little caloric boost right out of bed, that's great. Yeah. That's what I see. Do you fast?
No.
No. Okay.
I've tried it though, and for that same reason, I tried fasting, doing that kind of 16-8.
Yep.
I once tried a 4-day fast, and after 2 days, I got a massive migraine. It was miserable, so I stopped. Yeah, but I did that 16-8, and I trained kind of lunchtime, so that would get me in the window to eat, and I felt good on it. But it's just hard to sustain with a family and everything and be consistent, and that's
right.
what I wanted. If I'm going to do something, I want to be consistent.
Exactly. And I feel like you can sit around and we could talk about the fasting, counting macros, paleo. We could just go down every rabbit hole that there are. Yes,
100%.
What it really, really comes down to, I think, is just the consistency of
That's exactly right.
Hey, whatever it is, figure it out and then do it.
That's right.
And just do it for time. Like you can't do something, and I feel like that's where people mess up. Is like. They go, it's something new in the beginning, like you said, and either one, maybe it's just it isn't for you, and it's just not working out, and that is definitely a reason to change, or the newness of it wears off, and it's on to the next thing, and that's where people struggle, and they don't get the the results that they're looking for, is because it's on to the next thing. And it's, you hear somebody else has a podcast and they talk about this or that. And so it's just all this hopping around. And I think, like, even now, me being in my 40s, we did the fitness in the 40s.
That's right.
I think when, like 20s, it's easy. Like, just your responsibilities low, show up to the gym. 30s, life is starting to happen a little bit more. But when you get into your 40s, I'm promising you, you're not showing up to the gym and it just happening. Like, you have got to have a very intentional, consistent plan. It takes discipline. The older that you get, it's even more difficult to get the results, in my opinion,
100%.
as you age. So it's like, what you got to do is stop making excuses. It's like everything that you throw up of why you shouldn't lift weight, or you shouldn't do cardio, or you shouldn't hang on a bar, or whatever it is. It's like, that is really where the mistakes are made, is you make an excuse, you try to have some reasoning or diagnosis, and then all that leads to is further elimination until you've narrowed yourself or put yourself into this decrepit, category of, now it's again, paralysis by analysis. It's like you have just handcuffed yourself. Now you can't do anything. And you're a snowball of just 100%. Excuses. And that might be in your training, but it's also happening everywhere else in your life. You just make excuses, Stop making excuses and pick up the damn dumbbell.
It's true.
Or the barbell or whatever it is, It's like we go round and around and around in circles, and we haven't spent 25 years in this industry.
That's right.
And saw the things that we've, witnessed. I'm telling you, it doesn't happen by accident.
Well,
and it's even like when we go
to of that. Well, so at the end of the day, you and I see it as like, I don't want to do X today, which turns into I'm not going to do this tomorrow, which turns into eventually getting out of the gym. But you see another expression of that, which is like,
I see their medical decline rapidly.
Right, exactly.
And so everybody comes in and says, I just retired. I just wanted my golden years to be good, but life is just harder. Everything starts creeping up. Well, one, you retired, so you're even moving less. Let's say you're the person that wasn't really active in the gym, taking care of their health. And then you've taken away the piece where you're getting out of the house and working.
And to me, that's the saddest, man. Nothing like convicts me more than that retiree that's come in, that's worked their entire life to get to that point, and now they can't do anything.
Now they hurt.
Yeah, they just sit, and again, they've eliminated so many things out of their life, and they can't even enjoy what they spent their entire life, building. Yeah. And that's just sad.
Well, it's frustrating because maybe it all started with low back pain. Their back was hurting, so they were told not to hinge, not to bend at the waist and lift. Well, then they can't, one, go to their kids' games and sit in a chair very long. They're not nearly as active. They were hoping to retire and be able to do stuff around the house. That's eliminated. And then all of a sudden, they're walking abnormally, so their gait's off, their knees start bothering them, because we all get arthritic changes, we've talked about a lot. So now their knees hurt. Well, now because their knee hurts. And it's, as you mentioned, those excuses just stack on top of each other. And that's what I know you don't, it's frustrating seeing those patients in the gym, but I love that, because to give them that hope that, no, it's not all lost. One, they always say too, I show them their muscle atrophy on their back. You can't gain weight once you're in your 60s, 70s. Not true. You absolutely can. So trying to educate them back of, your knees hurt, so we're going to modify how you do the squat. We're going to go to a chair. Just push your knees out when you're coming up. Little things to take pressure off that knee, just to start to give them that hope that they can get starting to do this, even if it's later in life, is super rewarding. And then when I send them to you guys and they start doing it and say, whoa, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting out of the house. It's so amazing and powerful to see. I think that's why we're so passionate about it.
No, it definitely, when I say it's sad, it's only sad that that their life, a lot of their life has kind of passed, and they've limited themselves through really it's just a broken idea of, maybe it's even just there are so many myths and misconceptions about strength training.
What's the biggest one that you find every day, or the most common one that you hear?
Well, I just think that people don't understand the
Is it that I'm going to get too big too quickly kind of thing?
Not so much. I mean, you hear that more out of like females. I think yes, there is a huge fear, factor, and I don't know like specifically why that is. I mean, it's like when you really look at it. It's like more people are dying in car crashes, and dying of chronic disease from not moving than there are actually moving. Right. So it's like when you really start to break down the numbers, like I don't know where that whole thing, the whole misconception came from, but I think people just underestimate the benefits of truly like lifting heavier weight. It's like we got this fictitious
challenging. It's not.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. In challenging yourself.
That's right.
And that's something like I train lots of clients, and somebody's saying, well, me going, all right, today we're going to do a 3x10. I want you to start your first working set at a challenging effort. Mm-hmm. If I've got 10 people in the group, 7 are like, well, what's challenging?
Okay.
To me, as a coach, in the beginning, that's fine. Like we need to establish that. That's something I'm going to help you, kind of create some benchmarks and let's build a parameter,
Yeah.
But after a certain amount of time, you got to understand that for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're holding yourself back.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not coaching you, I'm propping you up. And so it's like
that's a good way to look at that.
Challenging is something like that's a battle that's happening like in your body, not mine.
What's the first reference point that you give? So if you're saying a challenging 10 rep, are you saying like I would die inside at 12 reps? Is like, what do you give them as a parameter to start?
Like to start, I would say like your last 2 to 3 reps need to be pretty like
make you question things.
I'm not saying you need to be failing or I need to be coming in to like spot you or assist you, but you need to be really exerting like some hard effort.
And this is different from like the first, obviously, but we just want to make sure that we clarify. This is very different from the first day you might send a patient to become an athlete. We're not going to have those exact same conversations, but a year down the road, we have a very clear distinction of, hey, if 10 is supposed to be hard, that means you probably couldn't do 12.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's getting them to understand, but that's my job, it's like, that's why you got me there.
That's right.
And it's to help, guide you along, but it's also to help you understand like what we're doing and the intent or the intensity behind it, like this is what we're trying to achieve. So I think that's like people taking ownership, of
But it's on every level. Like you said, the excuses will start here, but then they infect other places. If you're not taking ownership here, then you're probably not taking it over here. Then you're just giving up responsibility.
Well, or you're walking into his office or whoever's office,
miracle worker,
and just saying like, "Hey, give me a shot."
That's right.
Well, that's what I get all the time because it's easier to take the pill, get the shot, than do the challenging, hard thing.
I don't want to blame this on society, but don't you think that's a lot of where we've, as a society, has pushed people?
Why do we all want the news on Instagram? Because you only have to see a 15-second
That's right. That's what I mean.
And know your opinion. It's the same. We want that quick fix.
That's right.
We want that fast food. We don't want to
Well, I think the reality is that we're weak. We're a soft, weak society.
Okay.
We get everything on demand, like our news. We get our food. We get pretty much name it, with the exception of strength.
It takes time.
Muscle mass.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's
lean, losing weight, those type things. And we as a society, we have tried to expedite the weight loss thing, and we have accomplished that to a degree. Now, on the flip side, the long-term ramifications of that, and we're finding out more,
That's right.
and we will continue.
Yep.
So it's like we've just been conditioned to get everything right now, this moment. I don't want to have to like spend a lot of time working on it or putting effort into it. And matter of fact, the more effort I got to put into it, Well, that makes me even less interested in it.
That's true,
Therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a crap ton of excuses of why it's dangerous and bad for me.
So is this like where
But I'll put Ozempic in my,
Sure.
I'll get up every morning and take that.
Now, is this where you would say something like, hey, man, to get in good training sessions tomorrow or a month from now, I need to look at like getting away from my phone today?
Yes.
Okay.
I honestly, this is something I like been wrestling with in my own like life, is because I feel like post-COVID, I've been more inclined to like be on my phone. I would love to be able to go back and look at my usage pre-COVID to post-COVID. There was some type of shift during that time. I think because you really, there were so many things going on.
Social atrophy, right?
Yeah. That and then you don't realize you don't realize the shift and how much it's changed until
what's interesting is
you start looking around, and I mean we're in it's a freaking pandemic, that we've got on our hands with technology. And even as a parent, like how diligent that you have to be with your kids. The biggest fight that we battle.
We have a time where we didn't have a phone.
No.
And you get a 15-year-old does not have a time.
Yeah. No.
Like they've always been around.
Always
and
right
so,
there.
I mean, now probably more than ever is like we have the access to everything, but the battle might be worse than ever because it's like
For sure.
the time that people are willing to put into these things, especially like driving to the gym or
everything's competing for your time, and it's competing in a very ruthless way.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You said something really interesting about the hope side of it, and we were talking about how people get there. You had said an athlete the other day, and we talked about hypermobility. And when I got to meet with her, I want to ask you, what do you say to restore that like hope that things could get better? I'm retired all of a sudden, and then it's like, this sucks, man. I'm retired and I'm in pain. But I had an athlete that you'd sent that was hypermobile, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, hey, that's kind of like a superpower. Like, that hypermobility is what Olympic weightlifters dream of.
Yeah.
You know that all you really have to do is be taught to move in this specific pattern.
Yeah. You need some control.
That's right.
Yeah.
To not do these things at this point in time. And if you do that, you can apply
You got such an advantage.
Dude, I'm like looking at you like, this is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And all you've heard for 40-some years is this is going to kill
that's
you.
what everyone in the medical profession, you're hypermobile,
Right.
you're going to hurt
It's the
your
worst
joints,
thing
you're
in the
going to
world.
tear your tendons.
I've seen weightlifters that would love this, and I've seen weightlifters that have this exact same hypermobility, and they perform really well.
Why do they want to have hypermobility
So
or better mobility?
when you're in weightlifting, the whole goal is stacking bones, right? So like if you're always
Positioning.
thinking, right, you're always thinking of how can I stack this bone. So if you're just a little off with shoulder mobility, if you're a little off with hip mobility, if you have introversion, retroversion, whatever that may be, then you got a little bit of a lean. If you got a little bit of a lean,
It's the difference between making a lift and missing it.
Oh, it's harder to hold the bar overhead. Like if you're trying to get a snatch, the definition of a snatch is from the ground to overhead in one smooth movement. It is technically in weightlifting, it's going to be your hardest movement you have, the most skillful, the most graceful. Cool. That's great. It also requires an amazing amount of ankle mobility, a spectacular amount of hip mobility, and not a little shoulder mobility.
Yeah.
So you need all of those things to work in concert, along with years of practice. And you're looking at, give me somebody who already has the mobility that I don't also have to teach them a skill that's really hard to learn. The hardest part's already done.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, all I got to teach, again, she may not have this thing going on or this thing going on, so we just have to teach these little components of when to brace, when not to brace. But that's all it took. And I saw it when I was talking to her. It was like, somebody finally told me this is okay. How do you get people that when they come to you and they're like, "This, I've heard this is the worst thing in the world."
Well,
what do you say to make them think that make them know that there's hope?
I try to do exactly what you did, and I try to put whatever that like big hot spot is. It's like if I can like tell them something positive about that, and just help them flip the association that they have with it in a positive way. Like it could be that you have been told, whatever you do not deadlift.
Right.
But if I can show you that you can hip hinge and do it without pain, we've just unlocked something that like you've just been told to like avoid that at all costs. It's empowering.
Oh, 100%.
And so when you overcome something that anything, name it, whatever you are the most scared of, jumping out of an airplane. It's like when you do the thing and you face that thing head on, whatever it is, there's a confidence that like comes over that person. And now they believe like, well, I can get better,
It's honest.
Well, it is, and I'm not selling them. I'm not selling them a lie.
That's right.
It's like you just did it,
that's right,
and you didn't feel pain. Like you tell me, like why it's bad. Whatever it is. So,
how do you overcome that when? I don't want to speak bad about other professionals in your profession, but I know that if we get somebody who
we're on you today,
if we get somebody who's like, this coach said not to do this, we're not going to be like, that coach is an idiot. We may think that, but we would never say it out loud.
Right.
So when you hear somebody who's like, man, you can't ever deadlift, you can't ever squat, you should probably just sit in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. Like, how do you get them to divorce themselves from that appeal to authority that seems to be the biggest thing that keeps people down?
It's all education. So I am rarely the smartest physician that these patients have seen. But if you educate them on the knowledge I know, or clinicians give them and show them what's out there, it's pretty easy to get them to understand and realize what they've been told in the past is not the most accurate information. It's that fear factor, while they're fearful of jumping out of a plane or doing the deadlift, just eliminating that, they haven't even done it yet, but when they walk out the door feeling like, okay, he said this is okay, but not just that I said it to him, but I explained the why. And that's why I love showing them their MRIs, or even just their x-rays if they have it, or having them demonstrate a hinge or a squat in the office just to show them that you can do this. So it's that educational component which gets you the buy-in. And it's not a buy-in because I need them to do this. I just want them to be able to do it because that's how they're going to get better. I mean, we just talked about the phone with, and how in society we always want that quick fix. Well, we've tried that for years. I mean, in the 90s it was, opioids. That's going to cure pain. People are going to be great. We've seen what happens with that. It just, chronic opioids make pain worse, among a bunch of other side effects from it. Back braces. Back braces are going to be amazing. They're going to help people move. Well, you're going to get more muscle atrophy. They got worse. All these things we used to do. Posture. That was early in my training. That was the key thing with back pain. We just got to fix their posture. So you're going to spend thousands of dollars on a new chair, a new desk setup, all this nonsense. Braces to pull your shoulders back, or just sit in a military position. Well, that's fun, just to sit upright. I mean, then you're going to get muscle tension.
Be mindful of that the whole time. Yeah, right.
So all these things, which were the quick fixes, have been shown. We haven't even mentioned surgery as a quick fix. That doing consistent strength training for your trunk muscles, your back, is the best thing long term.
When you
all
say
I do is explain that. That's how I get them to understand. That's what I was going to say.
When you say you educate, is it something like, so we know, and my statistics could be wrong, so I'm sure that somebody on the internet will pull that up if my statistics are wrong, but something like 54% of, I have a shoulder injury, and I image that shoulder, and it shows that there's a shoulder injury, but then I also image the non-affected side, that they're both injured, but
Absolutely.
only one is hurting, right?
Yeah.
So if we know that's the case, is that what you're talking about, education? You're like, hey man,
yes,
this is what's
that's
going
part
on.
Of it.
Okay, so it's
well,
like,
you see that in the hips all the time. They come into me, they got pain down their leg, they've seen a hip surgeon, they need a hip replacement. So I show them their bilateral pelvis x-rays. Well, the left side looks worse, but the right side's painful. So pain and degeneration doesn't always correlate.
Right. So that's the education
And maybe you have that degeneration in the hip, but it's going all the way down to your big toe. It's the L5 nerve getting pinched in the back.
Yeah.
Because you have a disc bulge causing narrowing around the nerves. But look and the left L5 nerve is even more narrow. So why is it that right side? Maybe it's because you're standing like me, leaning on the right side all the time. There's all different things in life that cause that one area to get flared up. So we just got to quiet that down. Usually not requiring surgery, anything like that.
So it's every time we say education, because you can also read the studies where it's like education doesn't change the way people act, but the way you're framing it sounds a lot more like awareness.
It changes their mindset to then
exactly.
act.
Okay, gotcha.
It gives them that hope, that confidence that, maybe what I was doing, what's great is when I see people have been doing this for 3 or 4 years. One, they've never really been told or shown what's exactly going on. Now, I don't go into big statistics and all the physiology of everything, but just examining them, showing them if they have imaging what's going on, and then having them demonstrate some of the things we're going to do is the education I'm talking about.
Well, I think you're also like, you're giving them perspective too. You know, it's
Absolutely.
like, even when you say, all right, you know, this shoulder is the one that's, you know, you're having pain in, but we image the other side, and this one actually looks worse.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the perspective that you're giving them on this is like, and I know this. I mean, anytime you put an emphasis like on something like my big toe is hurting, and all you think about is your big toe hurting, guess what happens? Your big toe hurts worse. 100%. You know, now what it only bothered you when you walked, now it's bothering you when you sleep. You know, right. So it's like because you have just like focused in on it, it has now, you know, just manifested into this huge problem in your mind. You know, and so.
That's where conversations about like normative behavior come in. So like, and again, going back to referencing the studies, I believe that rock climbers, if you look at a rock climber's shoulder boulder versus a non-rock climber, their shoulders are torn. Like you'll see tears, and then but they're not actively in pain. Not only are they not actively in pain, but they're doing their sport better. So. Again,
Olympic
that's
skier
like
right now, Lindsey Vonn, complete tear of her ACL. She's gonna ski in the Olympics.
Yep.
We can do this stuff with tears, with degeneration.
The last statistic I read was 250,000 ACL surgeries in a year, and I'm almost positive, and correct me if I'm wrong, that 1 year removed from surgery or rehab, this is post-injury, 1 year removed, the results were the same, be it surgery or non-surgery. And most of in 5 years, you could not tell the difference in what would happen.
How is this going to change people's thought process when hopefully Lindsey Vonn does really well? I mean, that's just going to be like, whoa, maybe I can live with this ACL tear. I'm 75 or whatever. I don't need a complete knee replacement.
That's right.
Maybe we can do something else. What's the something else? Well, maybe condition around that knee, strengthen it.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I've seen that many times where I've had an athlete full-on rupture. Grade 3, just think the thing's just not preventing any more of that anterior translation anymore. And then all of a sudden they can go back to do it. And skiing is when it happens the most often.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting to see.
I think so too. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. How many, when you
But it's the quick fix to go just say, let me go in and repair that ACL.
Even though, well, first and foremost, we also know that you're 7 times more likely to re-injury the same side or the contralateral side if you go to return to sport before 9 months.
Yeah.
So like where are we going with those statistics? Like if you know that's a thing, that's an interesting statistic, man. Big time. When do you see somebody like that? What do you think of when you hear them like, I'm okay, I'm gonna still do it? Like, what do you see in that?
Oh, well, I mean, it just is so, I get excited, you know? I mean, it's encouraging because...
Do you think other people see it and they're just like, they write it off as a super athlete? Or do you think they're like...
Or crazy. I mean, I think even like, they're like, oh, that's because they're a former D1 athlete.
But is that what? Or is that like, hey man, just about anybody can do that?
Yeah, 100%. I think I also think too that person, because of the work that they've put in. I mean, Lindsey Vonn, and we're talking about an Olympian. I mean, she's, trained a lifetime for this particular time. I feel like she has a background to know, like, that she has put this in. But even the other person, like, let's say it's a common, Gen Pop comes in, tore the ACL playing pickleball, but has decided, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna strength train, and rather than surgery. I think it's a mindset. That's the way that's not. It just doesn't not this particular situation that they're approaching like that. They approach everything in life by. I'm going to be proactive.
That's right.
Not reactive. I'm not going to, take the easy route. If it requires a little bit of work, I'm up for the challenge. I think that's a mindset, an approach that somebody has.
You're also speaking to the effect of like, how fit was I before the thing? So if you had done absolutely nothing before the injury, it is going to be harder.
And guess
to come
what?
back.
That matters.
Right. But that being said, wouldn't you prefer to have somebody as fit as humanly possible if they did have to have surgery on anything to show up, get the surgery done, be as fit as possible then and there, as opposed to nothing and then trying to start afterwards?
Well, I love, like, prehab is what people call it, is they say, my back's hurting, I think I'm going to do surgery, or my knee's hurting, I think I'm going to do surgery, but I'm going to put it off 3 months. Well, let's use that 3 months
Get fit.
to train, get stronger. Your recovery is going to be that much better.
Because it's an intentional insult to the system.
And it's
like
being
you're going
proactive rather than just you're going to sit until you can get worked into the surgery or whatever.
Right.
I mean, who knows? You might feel so much better that you don't even need it. And I think, again, that's where you want people, though. You want them to be, I feel like that's a motivation. Like, you're motivated to get better. And guess what? When you're motivated to get better, you're going to get better. Rarely does the unmotivated person miraculously just get better,
and then you got to think of what better is. Like, if better is calming down the system to not feel pain, is that void of a specific movement that you loved to do? Is that what it really takes? Like, this thing hurts, so don't do that thing anymore. Okay, maybe that is a solution, but how many times do you get to do that in life? I don't want to jump anymore. Okay, cool. I guess you're not going to jump anymore. Then does I don't want to jump anymore turn into I don't want to run anymore. Cool. I guess you can't run anymore.
I would tell you that, yes.
I don't want to go downstairs at the University
does.
of Tennessee game because those stairs are rough, so like I can't do it.
Today it's jumping. Tomorrow it's walking.
Always a cascade.
It is. And I think that's where people have to be very, very careful. When you start to eliminate, it's not about just this decision you're making today.
It's a huge decision.
And it's gonna keep building until you reach this point, whether you're sitting in his office and now you're waiting for the diagnosis or the doctor to tell you what you need to do, or you just realize that you have lost your life. You have lost the ability to function and live and do the things that you want to do. And now you've just reached a point where if I'm going to continue on, I've got to do some of these things that I don't want to do.
But it's sad. It takes it when you got to get to the extreme where you've lost the functioning and enjoyment in your life to be then proactive.
Well, and I think that's the thing. It's like, don't do that. Don't get to that point, because the road back out of there, it's a long road.
It is. But speaking from three guys who've made fitness their entire lives in terms of just making sure they get their own health in, not to be disrespectful about it, but it really doesn't take that much.
It doesn't. And here's the thing, man. I know why we're so passionate about it, why we basically ditched the notes for today and just went on this
Start talking.
Rant, basically. It's because we know it works, because we've seen it in our own lives.
That's right.
It's like we're not just talking off of literature or whatever. We have actually applied these things over many years, seen the differences that it makes not only in our lives but thousands of others. And so it's like, yeah, man, well, that'll get you motivated, and it'll get you wanting to share the news, to other people. So,
and this isn't about us being special, man, but because every coach everywhere and every practitioner like yourself sees this, the literature takes forever to catch up on the things that you're seeing.
100%.
It's nice to have the paper come out 10 years after
finally
you own the thing.
Yeah,
hey,
finally.
Look at this. But we've been saying that probably the worst thing you can do if your knees hurt is just to sit around and not use your knees.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, finally, someone's like, well, maybe you should squat more.
Well, it's fun. It's fun for me because when I was in 2012, coming out of fellowship, the guy I was with, I would go to conferences with him, Dr. Rainville up in Boston, and he would come up with a question saying, well, what about, more high-intensity training? He didn't know anything about CrossFit, but those, high-intensity strength training for low back pain, he would get bombarded. You can't do that with, low back pain. You can't do that with a disc herniation. This wasn't that long ago. Mm-hmm. But now, finally, I go to conferences and more people are talking about it. So it does catch up. If you've seen something that works and it's not some crazy, conspiracy thing, just common sense, and the literature does end up catching up,
it'll catch up,
which is fun to see.
It is. Yeah. It's nice to know that you knew the thing maybe before a lot of other, at least before the bulk knew it. That's right.
Yeah.
But
Amanda, you got anything to add?
But it's also fun. We talk about exercise and strength training. It's nothing, you can fit it in. It's not that hard. It's not all this expense that you're going to be paying on healthcare. What's also nice is insurance isn't going to deny you for it. So everyone likes to gripe, well, I can't have my surgery because of insurance, or my injection, or this pill, it's so expensive. It's not that hard to get some weights at home or go with a trainer or work out. Yes, there is an expense. But I've done this with patients, go through their expenses. Where are you spending your money and your time? Let's fit it in here, because you can do it. Well, it's hard, but you can do it.
And I think the question that you got to ask yourself is, if you're not doing it, what is it that scares you so much? What are you afraid of? It's not spending the money. If it's a time thing, it is definitely not time. You can rearrange and reallocate time. Every single human being on the face of this earth has time.
Do you think it's embarrassment? Like when you show up, like you just don't know how to do it?
I think you reach a certain point if you have been out or never been in for an extended period of time. Sure, it's intimidating and it's scary, and I totally get that.
Yeah,
and you have the right to be scared. I'll tell you a really short story. Last night, I took my youngest son, he's going to a new place to train. He plays baseball. And we get in there, and right before he's about to go out, I see him and I can relate to it because I used to be the same way. It's not necessarily that I was shy, but it was new things, new people.
For sure.
It just made me uncomfortable.
Right.
And as I've gotten older, I've realized that's a good thing, and I looked at him and I said, hey, listen, dude, I get it. I totally understand. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, it's new. I said, I am the same way. I used to be just like that. I said, but here's what I can promise you. I said, you are on the verge, dude, of growing. Mm-hmm. And so
that's the appropriate amount of
anxiety. If you just go out, forward, and also just reassuring him, dude, what you're feeling is normal. It's not like you're a little scaredy cat or, what you're weak or what. No, man, this is normal and it's change. And the majority of us, unless we're very intentional about it, we don't like it. And the reason we don't like it is because we know we're getting ready to get pushed in a new direction. But the cool thing about that is there's an opportunity just right around the corner for you to grow. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think people need to look at it as, is the whole
dad of the year right here.
The whole muscle thing, or you're going to get injured, or all those. I don't want to downplay them and say they're totally irrelevant. They're real.
Sure. But
at the end of the day, that's not what this is about. What this is about is it's something new and it's scary, and that's just the root of it, is that it's change and you've never done it before. And so, but the cool opportunity is you are getting ready to rewrite the future. It's you got a chance. You're right here on the cusp, man, of flipping this switch from you've been in pain for 20 years. You can reduce it or eliminate it, and it's right here. Take the next step, And so it's just getting people to hey, take control. Quit waiting on the doctor to tell you, or whatever, somebody to send you the workout. Go and just do it, and I promise you, you won't regret it. We've seen way too many lives changed and impacted, and over just taking somebody by the hand and doing the thing with them.
But like you said, yes, they're going to get, if they do that consistency, the goal is to get stronger, to protect whatever joint or their back. But also, like you mentioned, your son now is more confident because he went in there and did it.
Man, he walked out of there last night. He thought he was the dude.
Yeah.
And it's
but that's what's cool.
But he just did something hard.
It's no different than patients
and there was some
walking into
older
the gym.
kids in there. All the reasons that he had, man, they were valid. I just validated them and then said, let's go do it.
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe
Do it anyway.
the litmus test is if it feels like it's going to be challenging and it looks like it's going to be a little scary, it's probably the thing you need to do.
Yeah. And if you're afraid of getting jacked, go get jacked.
That's it. That's all we got.
All right, that was good.
Thank you for your time.
If you enjoy what you're hearing and you want to put this into practice and get moving and functioning better, and you can commit to 4 weeks, we can get you back in action, get you moving better. Visit thebackinactionpodcast.com. We have some program that we can invite you into and get you moving and feeling the way you want.
Thank you for watching. Join us for much more where that came from. And when you get a chance, follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Back in Action Podcast.